All right, GBU back for Friday Night Live after 2 weeks off. Last weekend was the draft. We had some great draft reactions from down at Coastal Carolina University. Lenny was there with JD and Reese. JD and Reese not able to make it today, but we got a lot coming up. It's been a big week in New York. We're going to review the draft stuff. I know it's kind of a little while removed. We've been a week now. A week ago was day 2 of the draft, but we're going to talk about the Jets and Giants. We're going to talk about James Bradberry and his expected release. We're going to talk about the incredible Mets win last night, as they continue to show great perseverance in a quest for their 3rd World Series in franchise history. Buck Showalter's Mets are definitely a different type of team, so we'll get into that. We'll get into the Yankees after an 11-game win streak, and they won 2 out of 3 against Toronto, lost the last game of the series, and went 11-1 over their last 12 since that Miguel Cabrera walk game in Detroit, if you remember that. So we're going to talk about, is that for real or is that an early season fluke? We'll get into it. Me and Lenny probably have different opinions on that, or we'll agree for once on the Yankees. We're going to talk a little bit of hockey today, too. So neither of us are Rangers fans, but we will talk about the series we've both been watching closely. They're at 1-1 right now against Pittsburgh after 2 games, and they're heading back to Pittsburgh to play some road playoff games. So that's exciting right now. Playoff hockey's in the air. It's always great to have it at the Garden. Unfortunately, never overlaps between the Islanders and the Rangers. One of them's always the bad team. One of them's always in the playoffs. That's just how it seems to go. Lenny, how are you today?
Good. Doing good. Great to be back.
So,
great day at Coastal. Great week at the draft. So,
yeah, and if you missed those videos, you definitely want to watch them. Some great reactions. Couple went up on the Instagram, and then even more than that, we got some great ones that didn't make the cut on Instagram. That could have been better than the ones that were there. So you definitely want to watch those. But a lot went on last weekend with the draft. We'll start with that, and then we'll get into the this week's sports with baseball and hockey. But a lot went on last weekend with the draft. We're going to start with the Jets draft. The Jets have been in the mix with probably them in Baltimore have gotten the highest praise for their draft weekends last weekend. The Jets walked into the weekend with 9 picks. They made 7 picks, 4 in the top 40. They walked away with Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Breece Hall, a really good collective top 4. And then they capped it off with Jeremy Ruckert in the 3rd round, Max Mitchell, and Michael Clemens in the 4th round, those 2 at the end there. So, Lenny, I want to ask you first, before I get into my spiel, on what you thought of the Jets draft. And everyone's been a little... I'm totally excited about this, but I want to hear if we could bring a little bit of criticism to this argument, because I do think that there's some warranted, but overall they did have a really good draft. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think if you're a Jets fan, how could you not be happy unless you're Higgy? But I feel like they had a great draft. I mean, they got Jermaine Johnson at number 26. They traded back up from, I think that was their best pick of the night. They got 3 players with Sauce, Wilson, and Johnson, who are probably top 10 play. Could have all went definitely in the top 10. So and then they got Breece Hall, who was probably the best running back in the class. And they got a hometown kid, Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, that video was insane. So that's Jets fans right there. They're all excited, hyped, ready to go for this season. And hopefully Zach Wilson can take the next step with the weapons he's got now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm super excited. You see, Joe Douglas operated the draft properly this weekend. He finally, instead of what we saw Joe Shane do this year, which is not a bad thing, Joe Douglas did it for the last 2 years, of trading back and just pile up those picks, try to find a couple steals on day 2 and 3 late on those days. That's what the Jets did for the last few years. This year, they're finally starting to get aggressive and try to build a pretty competitive roster, which I think they have aside from the quarterback position, which we'll find out about this year as Zach Wilson goes into year 2. My only complaint with this draft, and this is an unpopular complaint, and it's a tough one to say as a Long Island Jets fan. I love Jeremy Ruckert, but we have awful linebackers. They did not address linebacker anywhere in this draft. The 32nd run defense, nothing was drafted on the middle of the defense. Little bit concerning for me there. Listen, I'm not going to complain. They got 4 of my top 15 players in this whole draft. You know I was high on Johnson. You know I was super high on Sauce. He was my 3rd highest player. You can check out my rankings on Instagram. Garrett Wilson was my top receiver. Johnson was my 6th best player. Breece Hall is not in that top 10 rankings, but he was just outside. He's probably 18 or 19 for me. Running back 1, though. Yeah. Jeremy Ruckert was my 2nd favorite tight end. I mean, awesome draft for the Jets. Couple positions that needed to be addressed were not in safety and linebacker and defensive tackle. They have Quinton Williams and John Franklin Myers are 2 guys that third and short, they're pretty useless because they're two pass rushing interior linemen. The Jets defense, I still think is going to struggle a little bit next year, but that's why you hired Saleh. You hope he can put it together. But not a ton to take from the Jets draft. A lot more, I think, to take from the Giants draft, Joe Shane's first year. The Jets draft was pretty straightforward. They jumped up to get the best players available at every chance possible. The Giants are not in the position to do that yet. They're a year or two away from making those moves, especially without a quarterback. You want to make those moves when you have that first, second-year quarterback. But Lenny, of course, is a Giants fan, and I have been very high on Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. Although their war room and the draft calls, I need a little more juice from the two of them. Need a little more energy, especially when it looks like Saleh and Douglas are doing cocaine throughout the whole draft night, making these calls, hugging each other. They are nuts at that draft. But that was a ton of fun. Giants, we'll start with those first two picks. I think we have the same feel of this whole draft. So your thoughts on the first two picks, Thibodeau and Neal at 5 and 7?
Yeah. I thought they were two great picks. I honestly did not. When I heard Thibodeau, you even see in the stream, I honestly, he said K, and I was like, who? And then I'm like, oh, Thibodeau. I did not think he would get to 5. And I didn't even think we'd take him there. I thought we'd maybe wait to our 7th pick, but it looks like somebody was maybe going to trade up with Carolina to take him at 6. So I really think Kayvon Thibodeau, if the effort and focus is kind of there, I think he could be a really good pass rusher. And then I think Evan Neal's a slam dunk. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. I think he's going to be a cornerstone at right tackle for us. So I don't have really any issues or concerns, I guess, compared to Thibodeau with Neal.
Yeah, so those first two picks, the talent is just no one left with, even with Sauce and Garrett Wilson, no one had two picks of this talent level in the draft. Dibbs and Neal, like you said, Neal, him and Ekwonu are just neck and neck for me at tackle. Two different players. Ekwonu, huge run blocker. Neal, more just well-balanced. But you got two just bookends at tackle now with Thomas and Neal. So really good start for whether it's Jones, who has a huge year this year and finally improves on that rookie season, or Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams next year, whoever it ends up being for Joe Shane and Daboll. You got two good tackles. The offensive line's a year away from being really good. Right now, I think they did a great job this offseason for what they had to deal with. But those are two picks that we know kind of fell into the lap for the Giants. And it worked out great for them. Exactly. It worked out great for them that Houston went corner at 3 and the Jets went corner at 4. That worked out great for the Giants because they had their pick at all 3 of those tackles, Cross, Ekwonu, and Neal. And we said leading up to it, they better not take Cross over either of the other two. I think Neal was their guy, and they knew that Ekwonu was going to go 6, and those teams have the intel that we don't for those picks, of course.
Definitely seemed like Cross was just a bunch of smoke. They're trying to. It didn't seem like they really even had him high on their board, to be honest.
And in all honesty, Joe Shane did a great job with. I'm glad you brought that up with smoke screens. And I would have never said. We said it back in February. We thought it was going to be Thibbs and Neal, but then that died out. A lot of Thibodeau to the Jets and to the Lions leading up to the draft, but then the Walker thing squashed that. And so just a lot of different rumors coming out. None of them really had to do with Thibbs and Neal for the Giants. Actually, I saw a couple that the Giants would prefer Jermaine Johnson or even a guy like Jordan Davis over Kayvon Thibodeau. We know that there's some personality concerns and commitment concerns with Thibbs, but the talent's there. It's totally worth the pick. It's the right pick. I'll say that now. Yeah. Absolutely the right pick. If in 5 years we look back and say, man, I don't even know. Like they could have had Drake London. They could have had Garrett Wilson. One of those guys ends up being great. It still is the right pick at the time. Similar to something we talk about all the time with Nate Solder. It was the right signing. It just didn't work out.
Sucks, yeah.
So let's go to day 2 now, though, where they traded back. They had pick 35. They traded back with the Jets, or they had pick 34. I don't know. They had one of those picks.
They had 35. 36.
36? It was
35 or 36.
I think it was.
Like
I think it
was
Jets 36.
38, right?
Yeah, the Jets used 35 to trade up for Johnson, and then the Giants had 36. and the Jets moved up to 36 to get Breece Hall.
Yeah, and then we moved back further, like 43.
Moved back again, I think, with like Chicago or Minnesota or something.
Yeah, somebody. I think it might have been Chicago.
And they end up making a kind of a surprise pick at 43,
Yeah,
I'd say. Wan'Dale Robinson, I did not see that one coming at all. I had seen him a little bit. I really did not watch enough of his tape going into the draft. I thought he was a third-round pick. So we get our first reach of day 2, Joe Shane, which there's a couple of them. Joshua Izudu was the 67th pick at offensive line, who actually seems like a pretty good player. Seems like they could do stuff with him. At the worst, he's going to be versatile depth on the offensive line, can play a couple positions.
Yeah.
Cordell Flott, I'm going to be honest, I absolutely hate this pick. Small corner. Other than that, I don't hate any of the Giants picks. I think they addressed a ton of positions of need. You see the rest of the picks, they go with Bellinger, the tight end, who looks like he could actually be a pretty good impact blocker. I mean, he's a bit nasty blocker.
Yeah.
Belton, defensive back. Then you get a linebacker, McFadden, Davidson, defensive tackle. You go O-line again, and then Beavers at linebacker at the end. So they address good positions. I don't know. How'd you feel about this day 2?
Yeah. I think day 2, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a good player. I just think when you have Tony, I don't really know if you don't really need him. So, and I think you're definitely right. He was probably a third-round player. Probably doesn't get past the third, but definitely at our 2 of our thirds, they definitely could have grabbed him then and could have grabbed somebody. Definitely, I would have liked Muma, a good linebacker early, or maybe just a top corner and not trade back. But we'll see with Robinson. He's a very small guy, so that kind of is a little bit of a concern. So, but he's I mean, they say he's like that type of gadget player they want. So if they can get him and Tony to be right, I mean, that could be something scary for the Giants.
So to go through these, I'm just trying to find the whole draft on this. So the Giants traded, like we said, they traded out of that pick to give the Jets Breece Hall, which I don't think is a guy that I'm not saying the Giants should have took Breece Hall at all. Like that's not the thing I'm implying.
I'm honestly stunned. I did not think the Jets. I honestly thought
I didn't either.
Kobe Dean incoming.
I thought it was too, and now we know
they were going for.
Now we know that Kobe Dean had no chance there.
Yeah.
But we go to Breece Hall at 36. I just want to know, I want to hear, so the players that went after him before Robinson, I want to hear if you would prefer any of them. Jalen Petrie, the safety from Baylor.
Yeah, I would have preferred. I think he's a really good player, honestly. I think
I feel the
Texans,
same way.
Right? They got him? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Atlanta at 38, Ebikite from Penn State, the edge. I don't think you took dibs.
I don't think the Giant. Yeah, we have an Ojolari, so it really another edge probably didn't make that much sense. So,
yeah. So then the two guys because there's at 40 and 41, Seattle goes with Boy Mafe, who's an edge, so we could scratch that, and Kenneth Walker, so a running back that I don't think
another running
really
back.
Anyone,
yeah, I don't think they.
Not a huge fan of him, and just Giants wouldn't have taken him anyways.
Yeah.
But Kyler Gordon, Andrew Booth, would you have preferred a corner there over Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah, I definitely would have. I think those guys are definitely going to be top, like number 1 corners in the league. I know Booth's got some injury concerns, but I really think he has upside, and I really do like Gordon, which I kind of wanted them to draft. I thought they would draft them, but it seems like they were not really high on, I guess, either of those guys. And they really
I guess not, especially if they traded back. You knew you were losing those guys once you traded back. So Robinson was just their guy. It's just clear that he was just their guy. You know, they traded back because they knew they could still get him, and they took him. And then the next pick, this is the interesting one. The 2 following picks, if you know how we all are, because I do it with the Jets, we look back at the terrible first and second round picks, and you just look at the 2 or 3 guys drafted right after them. Mechie went to Houston at 44. Mechie was hurt this past year, but we know what he could be. But 45, Baltimore takes Ojabo, who, if we have discussed together, if he never tore his Achilles, he may have been the 7th pick, and Neal might have been the 5th.
Yeah.
Because that Wink...
It probably is. They really liked Ojabo. They were there when he got hurt, unfortunately. But I think you're right. I think even maybe the Jets at 10 would have gone Ojabo if he was even there then. He was probably a top 10 pick if didn't get
Yeah,
hurt.
he probably would have been gone by 10, and he's the guy that I think is going to be linked to that Wan'Dale Robinson pick if Robinson ends up being a total bust, which I don't think he will be because he's got a ton of talent. But that's the guy that I definitely look at, and it makes sense because we know we both thought Wink loved them and that the Giants loved them, and then who takes on Baltimore, where Wink just came from? They're running the same exact defense, just a new coordinator now. So he's going to be a stud there.
Now. Their D coordinator now, isn't it? It's Michigan's D coordinator is now their D coordinator, I think. Or their linebacker, Michigan linebacker.
He took the D coordinator from there because I remember when they took him. It was everyone was saying Harbaugh is going to go to the NFL. His staff's leaving. It's not Wink. You Google it; it still says Wink. Mike McDonald from Michigan defensive coordinator.
He's a young guy.
Mike McDonald. They had a good defense when healthy last year, and they added Hamilton and Ajabo in the top 45 picks. Very good job.
And they got
defense.
Jones, the kid from
and
Connecticut.
Jones.
I mean, holy.
Travis Jones. So they did a great job. And they got Linderbaum, who we all loved, but center, I know the position values, maybe not huge, but they got Linderbaum, who we loved. Baltimore had the best draft. I think they absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
They traded Marquise Brown, something we weren't planning on talking about. Your thoughts on that trade, and we'll talk about A.J. Brown too?
Yeah, I did not expect that at all. When I popped up on the TV screen, I was like, really? But it seems like that was he was kind of manifesting that. He really didn't seem like he wanted to be there anymore. It is a little odd. I don't know how I like it for Arizona because I think you're going to have to pay him too eventually. And he's probably going to want to get
gave up a lot in a first round pick.
20. Yeah. And then for Baltimore, it's like now besides Bateman, who's catching the ball?
Yeah.
They didn't really draft anyone.
I think their receivers right now are.
I know they're looking at Jarvis, but I don't know who else.
Yeah.
It's Bateman. I don't even know who else is there.
Yeah, it's Bateman and then let's look.
Is Sneed's
wide receivers
still there?
Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and James Proche.
Jeez.
Oh my God. Wow.
So
they took that guy from Alabama. The wide receiver they drafted is Slade Bolden, that guy from Alabama. The white guy from Alabama.
Yeah. I know they took who else did they went a tight end too, right? They went Charlie. Is it Charlie?
They went double tight end. They got Charlie Kolar from Iowa State, and then
I think likely might be a wide receiver for them. So maybe that's their plan. Really?
It was likely was the other one. Yep, because it'll be Andrews and Charlie Kolar will be the because if you remember when Lamar won MVP, they ran a ton of 2 tight end, and Andrews was great. But last year they only ran 1 tight end, and it was first of all Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator. He seems to be terrible at his job. I mean, if anyone should have got fired from that staff, him. Marquise Brown doesn't want to play there because he doesn't work in the offense. They had a great year with 2 tight end. They switched to 1 tight end, and then they drafted 2 this year with the best tight end in the league already, just so that they can get back to that. I don't know. It just seems like it relies way too much on Lamar. I know they had a lot of injuries last year too. All their running backs got hurt, but you're probably right though. Isaiah Likely's going to receive for them. And then they got that hog from Minnesota, Falele, in the 4th.
Yeah, Falele.
God, you thought Becton was big. Jesus, that man is huge. That man is massive. So my least favorite. I'm not going to criticize Joe Shane for his day 2 because I have to see him play first. And if he really likes his guys, I'm all about getting the guys you like. Because the Jets did the same thing, but the guys they liked were the big names. You know, those were the guys that they made sure they got. Wan'Dale Robinson could be the best player in the whole draft, for all we know. If the Giants really like him, they really like the way he fits for Daboll, then works out. Gabriel Davis was a reach for Buffalo, and we all saw him for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns last year against the Chiefs in the playoffs. So, if he fits the offense, Daboll really likes it. If you could make him and Tony work, though, you're working with some real fire there with those 2 guys. Yeah, their athleticism, their short area skills. Let's go to James Bradbury right now. I really don't like the fact that they're releasing him. I want to blame Joe Shane for not being able to trade him, but he even said it yesterday on. Was it Tiki and Tierney or Carton and Roberts yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was
Carton and Roberts.
Tiki and Tierney.
2 days
It was
ago,
Carton
Carter
Roberts?
Roberts.
It was Carton Roberts. He even said yesterday he was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was one of the
right
two. I think it was Carton Roberts.
It was right before,
Wag Wednesday. God, what a disaster! But it was right before Wag Wednesday. Joe Shane comes on Carton and Roberts on WFAN, and they asked him, Evan Roberts. Yeah, it was Evan Roberts. He asked him, "Are you surprised at the lack of interest for James Bradberry?" Because James Bradberry, Joe Shane would go on to say, he's a really good starting corner in the NFL, and he had no market. So I can't even blame Shane. The biggest problem with this is you're going to release probably your best player. Correct me, like who's better than it? Maybe Andrew Thomas, but who's actually like a better proven pro on the Giants than Bradberry? It's
there
him,
probably is
right?
no one. Yeah, he's probably one of the
they're
better
young
on the defense. He's probably one of the best players on our defense.
Yeah, and we saw him 2 years ago as he should have been an all pro corner 2 years ago. He was the best corner in the league 2 years ago. But they're going to release him, and he's going to end up with Philadelphia or Washington. Washington, you don't lose sleep.
Yeah, or
Philadelphia's
Dallas too.
Or Dallas. Those are his suitors. Are the NFC East. So now you're going to cut your best player, and he's going to get a long-term deal. He's probably going to get a 3-4 year deal on top of the year he has already to play in Philly or Dallas. That just stings a little bit when you lose a guy.
It's gonna hurt.
I'm a little bit upset that we lost Jamison Crowder to Buffalo, and that's not even on the magnitude of the player Bradberry is. So that one's a tough one for me. This one I don't love by Joe Shane because I would have tried to figure out a way to make the money work. I know they got to sign the draft picks. That's the big problem. But I would have figured out how to make this money work because he's a good player.
Yeah, I agree. I would have tried to at least. I bet the market was probably. He said it was bad. It was probably like a 5th or a 6th, and at that point, you're like, you might as well just wait off the draft and at least try to get something. But I bet you Bradberry's probably looking at the other corners and seeing, I'm older than these guys, been in the league longer. These guys are getting 20, 25 a year, and I'm getting 15, 16. I had at least 20, 18 or 19, almost 20. So, and for the Giants, we really can't do that right now. So,
how old is he?
Kind of in a tough spot. Is he going to be? I think he's going to be 30, maybe.
He's definitely late 20s at the
because I'm pretty sure him and what's his name? Blake Martinez are about the same age. Both signed.
He's a good player too, Martinez. But the Giants, they added one linebacker late. Hopefully, you hope Dibs helps out with the 2 linebackers. Oh, yeah, because that last pick was linebacker too.
Well, I guess Beavers is more probably edge, but they
either way,
use him in coverage.
But they Dibs. First of all, have you ever seen Dibs in coverage? He can run a little bit with receivers and tight ends. If he gets, if there's a blown assignment or something, and he notices he's got to pick up a running back or a tight end, he can stay with him. He did it a lot of times at Oregon, and he did a pretty good job of it. It just shows he is the best athlete in the whole draft. He's the biggest freak, and Neal's not far behind him as far as athletes. And we were saying today, it just feels so great that was Jerry Jones's 1 and 2.
That makes it even special. That really does.
Yeah. Okay, Bradberry's gonna be 29 when he's gonna be 29 when the season starts. Bradberry, 29 when the season starts. So, the Jets and Giants walked out with Dallas's 1 and 2. Dibs and Neal were the 1 and 2. Hutchinson was their 3. Garrett Wilson was their 4. Sauce was their 5. So New York's got to be feeling pretty good taking those stuff out. And then if you look at that draft board, Jermaine Johnson was higher than Trey Smith, and they took Trey Smith.
Yeah.
Someone broke down that whole.
Was odd.
That was
odd.
I thought Jermaine Johnson was a Patriot or a Cowboy when they were on the clock, and both teams went with 2nd round offensive linemen. Interesting. Belichick.
Strange.
Every single time that Belichick made a pick, I'd look at my phone because I really didn't know who the player was. Cole Strange, I knew because he was still at least a first 2-day pick. But then Tyquan Thornton in the 2nd round, I knew he was a speed guy, but other than that, I didn't know much. And every single time, it would be like Daniel Jeremiah. This guy's not even in my top 50, and he's like the 35th pick. It's, oh my god, Belichick has he doesn't care at all.
You see it too, and literally, like I saw one of their videos making the call to Cole Strange, the guy whoever picked up the phone originally and gave it to Bill. I mean, he gives him the phone, the guy's just shaking his head. You just know that Bill's just kind of running it. He's kind of just taking who he wants and not listening to anybody else. Thornton, I
he
think
just
it's just
doesn't.
going to be like a special teams player for them.
Yeah,
Honestly,
he
I don't know
really
how
does
much
have
he's
to.
gonna.
I'll always say I know that there's been a little bit of a drop off in respect for Belichick since Brady left because it's a first round exit last year and a really ugly one, and
Yeah,
missed the playoffs in 2020, which was a tough season for them because it was Cam Newton and all those players opted out. They never had a chance, no matter who was coaching. I still think he's
yeah,
far and away the best coach of all time. I think he's an absolute just genius, but he's got to give up the GM role. Give it to a guy
yeah. It's
like Nick
got to, yeah,
Casario. You got to give it. Casario and that guy Ziegler for Vegas both left, and they both seem like they
doing
know what they're
solid.
doing.
Yeah,
They right off the bat. Ziegler inherited a winner. Casario did not, and Ziegler goes
yeah.
out, gets Devontae Adams. These are the aggressive moves that New England's got to make to get talent on their roster because they
Yeah.
don't hit on those first and second round picks. Remember Kyle Duggar? He's a solid rotational secondary player, but
Yeah, he's just not a
why are we
second
taking
round
Kyle Duggar
pick.
in the second round? No one else was even scouting him.
Yeah,
Why even taking
they
him?
Jermaine Johnson and Judon would be an insane duo.
I mean,
I don't know.
Jermaine Johnson.
Just take the best guy.
I get that a lot of people, even though I think he fell because of age and because a lot of teams weren't going edge, obviously there was something else to it.
Yeah.
Maybe his age did factor into just teams not having him high and not wanting to take him. I really don't know. But that was weird. I was really happy he passed because you know how high I was on him. Him and Tibbs were a toss-up for the second best edge rusher in the draft for me.
You thought they were going forward. We all thought they'd go forward.
I thought
until pretty
Johnson
much
was
Sauce
going
came
four.
available. Then it was
I thought Johnson was going four for sure, and they were. Joe Douglas said after the draft with no hesitation, Johnson was a top 8 player on the Jets draft board, and they got him at 26. So great for the Jets, but I don't know. What a weird Jermaine Johnson. That was a weird drop. That was a very weird drop.
And there's always somebody. There
is always somebody. That one was the most surprising one I can remember because he got the most attention before the draft too. He got Johnson's expected to be a top 10 pick tonight. Maybe Seattle takes him. Maybe Atlanta takes him. Atlanta taking Drake London. Good God.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
And you even saw it with the analyst, Louis Riddick. They were just every time there was a pick in that late 20s, hit the 20s. They're this has got to be Jermaine Johnson. What are we if you're not linked in, you really didn't think it was anything but the age. You don't really see that with a lot. That doesn't really happen where you see an age really play a factor.
I still haven't seen anything come out about that. Him and Devin Lloyd. I had Johnson at 6 out of all the players in the draft. I had him as my 6, and Devin Lloyd right outside the top 10. Both of them fell to 26 and 27 because they're two of the older players in the draft. The Jets would end up later on, we were talking about today, drafting the oldest player in the draft, Michael Clemens, who seems to have his real fair share of off-the-field issues. I think he's a better pass rusher than Aiden Hutchinson, but it's not going to work because he is just he's really just not the best human being, evidently.
Yeah.
But man, I'd never even seen a human. But then I saw him on his draft call. He had no family or friends at his house, at his apartment.
Jesus.
He didn't invite anyone over, and he was wearing a cutoff hoodie with 5 nose rings. And I was just like, this is going to be a disaster. This is such a just a we know this is a great player, but it's probably not going to work type of 4th round pick. But anyways.
Yeah.
Enough draft talk. I'm sure we'll we always talk football, so that'll keep coming. But last night, a little bit of magic at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies are just absolutely pitiful. Their bullpen's disgusting, feeble, ugly. Just wow with the Phillies last night. 7-1. Couldn't get it out. Wow. 7-1.
Could get one more out.
7-1 in the 9th. Turn it over to the bullpen. Girardi's got to go, and that just never ended up working.
Yeah,
but they turned it over to the bullpen. They have no good bullpen pitchers, anyways. I can't blame a manager, but they just need some fresh blood in there. And the Mets win 8-7 in the 9th. I was in shock because even 7-1 doesn't matter who you're putting into close, especially a game in early May.
It's impossible.
Not
almost.
A ton on the line. It's a less than 1% chance of winning that game.
Yeah.
So thoughts on? I don't even know. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more to be said about that game. I do think Taijuan Walker can't be in that rotation.
Yeah, he looked.
This year.
He definitely right now when DeGrom comes back, he's definitely the guy out because Cookie's looking
he's the guy
amazing.
out. No doubt about it. Cookie looks great. Another 8-inning performance. Your thoughts on the May 1st cuts? Robbie Cano had to go. We love Robbie here. He had to go though, and he got DFA'd. Dom Smith last night gave a terrible at bat in the 9th. Do you like Dom Smith here in this lineup for a contending team, or do you think they kind of got to fill that role with someone else middle of the summer? It's not a pressing issue, but you're trying to win a World Series this year.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned. Even though I was listening to Tiki and Tierney, I'm stunned. They were stunned too that they cut Robbie. I really thought that just Robbie having the locker room presence, they just send down Guillorme, maybe Davis, maybe Jankowski, and just keep Robbie up. But they ended up, this is a new era with Steve. The Mets are different. He doesn't care. He's going to eat the money, whatever's best for the team. It doesn't care if Lindor really was pissed off about it. But I do think that the Mets, I know Dom Smith is a solid player. I do think, though, they definitely probably need another big bat, probably to fill that DH spot and maybe fill in maybe at the outfield, maybe. So I don't know who that could be, but I think that Stevie has the capability of adding whoever he wants. So whoever is best available to play, I guess, a DH or be a big bat for them, they'll add. And I definitely think they need another big bullpen arm because I think Diaz looks great. But after that, I don't really know.
After that, and we know how, we could use Chapman as the example. We know how these closers who are relied on too heavily get come late August, September, October.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you can wear them out. That's not always the case. But Diaz, he looks like the Seattle Diaz that they traded for. He looked, and you really saw it in that no-hitter last Friday. But Diaz looked fantastic, has all year. They were missing him that first week of the season. They miss him when he's not there. But the rest of that bullpen, Ottavino's terrible. Trevor May is awful. They don't have good pitchers in that bullpen. It's something Steve will fix, but how many bullpen guys, realistically, how many bullpen players are available in the middle of the summer? Like, how many good bullpen pitchers become available? Not that many. Maybe Hader will get moved,
you gotta
but
find guys.
Hader still doesn't solve your problem because you get into the postseason come October. I'm just going to say it. This bullpen right now, Mets go into the playoffs right now. I understand, and we'll say DeGrom's healthy. If they went into the playoffs tomorrow with a healthy DeGrom, I understand it's DeGrom, Scherzer, and then you have McGill, Bassett. You got just a dominant starting rotation, but this bullpen as it stands is not good enough to get you to the World Series, let alone win it, in my opinion. I think teams like the Dodgers, I'll just say the Dodgers because we know they're the most talented team in the league, that's a team that's going to take advantage of a bad bullpen late. You're getting Scherzer and DeGrom are getting the best lineup, so it's still not just an easy night that you cruise through, no matter who's pitching, and it's not going to be for the opposing hitters either. But if they don't add a couple pitchers at the deadline, they got a bit of a problem on their hand from the bullpen. Because you can add Hader at the deadline, but you still only have Hader and Diaz. The rest of the guys are bad. They're bad bullpen pitchers. You don't have a mix of Clay Holmes type of guys where they're pretty good. They're not great, but they're pretty good. The Mets do not have that. They totally lack that luxury. And I think that this is something that really has to be addressed for them and should be. I know it's early baseball and they're playing great, so it's not time to freak out about anything. It should be an enjoyable time for Mets fans. Should be in the back of your mind, though, and we know Steve and the front office will be thinking about it because they're really good at what they do. This is something that has to be changed. It's something that has to be fixed and improved on before the postseason, and it will be. There's no doubt in my mind that it will be.
Yeah, it definitely will be. There's no way if Steve or whoever. If Buck comes to him and says, I need some bullpen arms, they will add bullpen arms as many as he needs. So we'll see how long this lasts. I know May's been hurt. They're using Ottavino way too much. Drew Smith's actually been a surprise for the Mets. He's actually been pretty solid for them.
He's been good. I forgot about him.
This kid Medina, who they called up, has made two mop-up starts, but he has some electric stuff.
He does. I was going to ask last night, any relation to Luis Medina, the Yankees pitcher?
I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah, I have no
he
idea.
has some
Probably
electric
not,
stuff,
but
and they'll use it in mop up. But I'd like to see him maybe not in a high leverage, but maybe in an actual close game, up 2 or 3 runs, not late, but once you start your starter out, maybe go to him and see what he's got.
But like, let's look at the National League right now, and it stinks JD's not here at Reese because they can give us the Mets thoughts
Yeah.
and the perspective of Mets fans. But let's go to the National League right now. I'm gonna be critical of the Mets right now because we never are, and the Mets fans know how high I am on the Mets, and you know that. And I think they did a great job this offseason. By far the most improved team in the league. But the Mets right now, 19-9, best team in the National League. Are they the best team in baseball?
I think
they are. They're the most wins in baseball. We have the best win
most
percentage, but they have more wins. Okay. So the Brewers, you walk into the NLCS, Mets Brewers. Which is why I don't think Hader's even going to get moved anyways. He's always in the rumors for the Mets and stuff. But the Brewers are going to be a playoff team.
Spot, yeah. So
yeah, they're going to win their division unless St. Louis wins. But I don't think St. Louis. I think Milwaukee's pitching staff will get them there. But Corbin Burns, Woodruff, forgetting the third guy's name.
Peralta. Freddie Peralta.
Peralta. Versus the Mets starters, that's pretty even. I know Scherzer and DeGrom have the names. That's a really level starting series.
Yeah.
Whose bullpen's going to get taken advantage of? The Mets. At this moment.
Yeah,
they played this series next week. Mets bullpen's getting taken advantage of out of those two. The Dodgers lineup will take advantage of the Mets. Neither bullpen is insane this year. Mets or Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers have lost a lot.
Little worse than it's been in history.
It's worse than it's been. But the Dodgers and the Padres have two lineups that can change, that have more players in it that can change the games late with one swing than the Mets do.
With one swing, yeah.
The Mets could use another home run hitter, man, because Pete's the only guy, really. Lindor's so hit or miss. I don't know what to think of him right now. Hit that huge home run last night that propelled that comeback.
He had the good April, but he's struggling right now, and I don't know what's going on with him in the field. He's struggling this year in the field. It's not even just the throws. That's
the weirdest part.
Not getting rid of the ball quick enough.
That's the weirdest part
with Lindor right now.
And then, so those are really the NL contenders: Dodgers, Padres, Brewers, Mets. Braves are going to have to go on a little bit of a run to get themselves out of a hole. 3 games under 500, but early enough to do it. So that's just my 2 cents with the Mets right now. Anything else you got with the Mets?
Nothing really besides probably they'll have to add a bat and probably at least 2 relief arms probably. And then we'll see if DeGrom comes back. I don't even know when he will. I heard
I'm thinking July.
How Reynolds said July. Yeah. So maybe July 4th we'll see him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
That's I definitely think it's going to take a little bit longer, but not because he can't recover quick enough. Just because you don't want to rush DeGrom into anything, especially the way they're playing right now.
I don't even know if they need to. Yeah, they're playing right now.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you've got him for October and you got a couple starts under his belt, consecutive starts under his belt before you get there. To go to the American League, the Yankees. Yankees are the best team win percentage-wise in baseball. They've one less win than the Mets. They currently sit at 18-7. They were 7-6. Until they went on an 11-game win streak, lost to Toronto the other day, but overall this year so far, winning the series against Toronto, took 2 of 3, 9-1 in their last 10. Your thoughts on our New York Yankees?
Yeah, I think they've looked great. I mean, I know the win streak really didn't beat anyone until Toronto, but I think they played well enough to they really could have beat down and sweep them.
Yes.
They took the 2 games, but they really could have won that last game if they just hit a little bit versus Kikuchi. They usually hit. So I think they definitely are a good team. I definitely think right now we're looking. They're definitely them and the Blue Jays are definitely 1 and 2 for the AL and AL East. And I think the Rays are right below them, and then the Red Sox right now are they're
Red Sox are in last in the AL East right now.
So the Yankees have looked good. Their starting pitching, I really am stunned. It's kind of still going since they started. I didn't think I was kind of waiting for some guys to be like, all right, here, this is actually what he is. But it's really come. Cole's looked good the last couple starts. We'll see how he pitches tomorrow if they play. But and then the lineup the last couple games it's really been good because I think they're keeping the consistency of really playing DJ, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, and then Donaldson. And you got Torres who's starting to come along. So their what ifs are starting to, I mean, DJ's DJ. So, I mean, he's back.
Yeah, he's been
And then
great.
Gallo looked good the other night when he came back. So
And
if we can
Stanton
get
hasn't gotten
everyone
hot
going.
yet.
Yeah, he
If
hasn't been
Stanton
hot
gets
yet.
hot,
He's off and on right
he
now.
hasn't gotten hot, and we know how Stanton gets when the weather gets warm. He just starts raking. He uses the short porch. He crushes it. Doesn't matter if the balls are juiced or not. He's one of those few guys that's been on so many steroids throughout his life, lifted so many weights throughout his life, got the power swing, great launch angle, great exit velo. Stanton's gonna absolutely mash it. He hasn't started getting going yet, but this was awesome for the Yankees. They really needed this start to the year because you knew there was gonna be growing pains this year. IKF has been a good ad. I could use some more good at-bats from him. I think he's a lot of times he's a little too quick to pull the trigger. Swings at that outside slider a little too much.
Yeah, slider a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, swings on that a lot. It ends up in soft choppers. But overall, he's been really good. LeCastro has been a pleasant surprise off the bench for the Yankees, especially running the bases, pinch running. So 2 lineup spots that are definitely concerning for the Yankees. Wherever Aaron Hicks is hitting, and the catcher position.
If there's runners on base with him, I don't know if I can take Aaron Hicks. Runners scoring position, he's the worst hitter of all time. With runners, you cannot hit a lick.
Out of the 2 teams in New York, there's not one player I would take Hicks over with a man on second down a run. There's not one player.
I'd rather Jankowski. I'd rather
Jankowski. I'd rather Higashioka. I'd rather bring Gardner back for it. I'd rather any of these guys. This has been an embarrassing. His at bat in the 9th in Game 3 against Toronto, with first and second. I want to say 1 out. Was it 1 out, or did he make the final out? It was 1 out.
Yeah, it was 1 out. 1 out because then Gallo walked, and then he IKF ground out.
1 out. First and second. He looks at the first 2 pitches, both strikes, both curveballs, 4 strikes, both meatballs. The second one especially. The first one was an inside strike, good pitch, 2-0 count.
Yeah.
Then swings right through a fastball. It was an awful at bat, but you knew that's how it was going to end up because he hasn't had a clutch hit since that homer in the 2017 postseason against Cleveland. That was the last time I can remember Hicks, and the only time I can remember Hicks getting a big hit. Absolute problem in this lineup. Unfortunately, I don't think Cashman moves on from him because he's his guy, and he walks a lot.
Yeah,
Hicks could finish the year. He's one of the only players in the league that could finish with a 215 average, but a 360 plus on base percentage, which is just so odd. It's because he walks. He looks for walks. You can tell when he's up. He's looking for.
He looks for walks. It's a walk or a home run every at bat from the left hand side. When he's on the right hand side, he's a totally different hitter.
Totally different.
I wish he just hit right-handed every time. He just contact going the other way. Looks to swing.
He hits really well from the right side of the plate. He just is a righty. You could tell in his swing.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, you could definitely tell.
He's primarily a righty. His glove's just not good enough though for me to deal with these hitting issues. It's not.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't have the arm anymore. It's done.
He doesn't have the arm. He used to have a really good arm up until probably 2020, up until before the COVID season. Through 2019, had a good arm, good center field. Made some big plays in the outfield for us.
Definitely.
But really, I can't watch this guy anymore.
He's not aggressive anymore. Like even the one where Vlad hit like a single, like there's 2 outs. I'm like, dude, it's right in front of you. Just dive.
Yep.
Save a run. And he doesn't. He's not aggressive enough with like his jump. Like he always goes. And then he lets the ball drop right in front of him. Like, just make the catch. I really think Judge is a better center fielder now.
I do too.
And I really think we're going to maybe see more of that because they really like Stan in right. I mean, Stan looked good in right field.
Ideal scenario for me is Gallo in left, Judge in center, Stanton in right. And who would be our DH? I don't know. Well, it would. I'd love to have it Donaldson with. With Torres and DJ playing. That would be what
because Donaldson hasn't hit like he should be hitting yet. He had a decent Toronto series, but I think Torres had definitely better, just doing a little bit better than Donaldson is right now.
Yeah, Hicks left for paternity leave, and we won 11 straight games.
Yeah,
he comes back for the Toronto series.
We won.
No, we did. We won a few of them at the end.
Gallo comes back. We lost, but he actually had our only run.
Yeah, he's been solid the last 2.5 weeks. He really hasn't been terrible.
Yeah,
He's
he's
swinging
having
a
better
lot
at bats.
more. Swinging a lot
And when
more
you
and a
see
lot
he's
more
going
good
to left
pitches.
field, that knows he's calm. Like he
Yes.
swung. That's his first at bat in like a 3 days, and he
And
drove that thing to left center field.
same thing for Glaber, the opposite way. Glaber going to right field, you start to really feel like he's hitting the ball well. Hit a home run to right field, walked off that game a while ago with the fan issue against Cleveland. But starting to go the other way. Every other game, I feel like he's going the other way. Even when he's getting out with well-hit balls to right field, you feel good about Glaber this year after a rough first 2 weeks and a rough last 2 seasons. Do you think this? What do the Yankees need to target at the deadline for you and throughout the season? Just where, even if it's not the deadline, just trying to get Urshela type of waiver claims and free agent pickups. What positions do you think? And realistically, because like we said, I don't see Hicks going, so it's not totally realistic for me.
Yeah, I don't really see another outfielder.
So where do you think the Yankees would look to upgrade throughout the season?
It's kind of tough right now. I definitely say catcher, but like I don't know where they're gonna find a better catcher.
Yeah.
And by then it's like you really want to change what you got if the pitchers are pitching well. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Trevino is turning into Cole's personal catcher, just flopping with Higashioka now.
And he's a little bit of a better hitter than Higashioka. Neither of them are good.
Yeah, he definitely hits for more contact than he got. I mean, Higashioka doesn't have a home run yet. It's 7.
Higashioka just it's a power swing. He's clicking square every time.
He'll hit one eventually, but I don't really know. Maybe even adding like another starter if a top one's out there just to get even better. So then you could slide Nestor out to the pen.
I was just gonna say
even Montgomery, somewhat Tyone.
Nestor's my guy. Absolutely love Nestor. He's the best bullpen pitcher in the league. We can't be doing these 4 or 5. Yeah, so you gotta get Nestor into the pen. Try to add another starter, but the starting pitching's been great. I'm okay if they don't mess with it. Definitely add some more bullpen though, because we do get into a situation where if you have 3 or 4 close games in a row, Miguel Castro or Chad Green are pitching an inning, and I still don't trust that. I can't bash the Mets bullpen, although the Yankees bullpens, 10 or 11 bullpens better in league rankings. Yeah. Still, they have some weak links in there that could blow a game, especially Chad Green, because Boone does like to go to him.
I hate Chad Green.
Chad Green, that soft, that 94-mile-an-hour fastball at the line just haunts me. So terrible.
That's the Lindor haunt. I mean, this guy should not. If I were to say maybe where they'd add is if Gallo, I know he's been, but if he could starts really struggling again, and you might see them maybe. Maybe trade Gallo and maybe I would love them to trade Gallo and Green for like a left fielder. Maybe
like Benintendi's a name that we've thrown around.
Yeah. I didn't know he was doing that great, Benintendi, and he's also young, so I don't know if they'd move him. But
I don't know
if Gallo continued this up, I wonder if maybe they'd add another an actual outfielder to replace Gallo. Even if they don't trade him, maybe just put somebody in instead of him and you just have Gallo off the bench.
My pipe dream is what I texted this morning to you. Phillies are 11-15. We see him have that collapse last night. JT Realmuto's got 3 years left on his deal. Pretty big contract, older catcher, but if you could grab him, there's absolutely no reason not to. That is exactly the type of guy that the Yankees need in the middle of this lineup, bottom half of this lineup. One of the 2 or 3 or 4 catchers in the league that can really do both, field and hit. They wouldn't even have to work. He's one of those guys you don't have to work on anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just bring him in to do what he already does. Get him on a contender. Maybe the Phillies will go for some pitching prospects, the Davey Garcias, Clark Schmidts, because their pitching is terrible, and you need to turn some of these guys into bullpen pitchers. Maybe you could pull something off, because let's be honest, in the next 3 years with Realmuto, they're not shaping up to be much of a winner right now. The way that this pitching, the way that they've progressed from a pitching standpoint. I know they have Harper and Castellanos and Schwarber, but those guys aren't really getting you too far now. And if in July you're still at you're still below 500 and hovering around 400 in winning percentage, then it might be time to try to get some good pitching assets. I think the Yankees could provide it out of league, get Real Muto. That's a
Mhm.
pipe dream for me. We'll see what
You
happens.
could
That would
see
be
maybe Contreras from the Cubbies. I know the
Contreras too.
Cubbies are kind of. He does want to stay there, but the Cubs probably could get a decent haul back for him. And he's also, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he's 26, pretty young. So we don't really have a catcher coming up until Wells, and he's not coming up anytime soon, the next 2-3
Yeah.
years. So
The
we really
only thing
could
that
really get better improving a catcher.
only thing that worries me is that they love Rortvet, who we'll
Burke?
see. I'm not going to rule him out yet. Burke. I'm not going to rule Rortvet out yet, who came over in Minnesota with Donaldson and Connor Falefa, but I'm not going to rule out him being a good player. He's so young. He's 10 years younger than Higashioka. And he's a lefty.
Yeah.
He's a great fielder. It sounds like he's the best fielder of all of our catchers when he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't. For this year, trying to win a World Series, this team really has to get to the World Series. Or it's just it's a failure if they don't win. But they really got to get there. You got to get over that hump.
Cashman's job.
Yes.
And maybe Boone's. At least Cashman's. You got to at least get there.
Boone, though, he does seem a little bit more off the leash, you know?
It seems like he's managing his team, how he wants to manage it.
Dude, and you know, Boone, this guy, his grandfather played in the MLB. His dad ran the Nationals, and up until right when they won the World Series, that was his team. He was the president of the team. Boone played in the MLB, won World Series titles with the Yankees. These I don't think he actually did, but he went to the World Series once. Yeah, he
lost in 03 with them, I believe.
Yeah, he lost in 03, and then he was on the 04 team also against Boston, which was a disaster.
Yeah.
But this guy is such a baseball guy. Can we let him run the game the way he wants to and detach that front office aspect, which Harold Reynolds did say he thinks it's a little bit less now. He thinks it's a little bit more of Boone being himself, getting back to that competitive baseball player type of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't dislike Boone. I dislike the fact that he's been a puppet for the last few years. I don't know if he is this year, though. Too early to tell.
Yeah, I don't know if, you could tell, too, like,
totally is.
Years past, even if with Judge's strike zone's been a disaster for his whole career, but I've never seen, Booney was fired up. Jumping the gum. He got his money's worth, and he hasn't done that. That was his best. I think the last time he did that was the Savages in the Box.
The Savages,
was the last time he's really gone nuts.
And even then, I don't even think that was 19. Yeah, I don't even think that was as crazy as this was. I think he went on an even bigger tear with this past week in Toronto. But Judge gets called on that shin strike for every year. It never changes. I will say, and we both agree, he's got to start protecting the plate a little bit because it's been happening for a few years now. But it sucks. It really, you're screwing the guy out of a lot of balls and two ball counts that turn into 2 strike counts because, the biggest difference in a baseball count is going from 1-1 to either 2-1 or 1-2. It's such a huge difference in who has the upper hand in that one pitch alone. And Judge gets a lot of 1-1 counts turned into 1-2 that should be 2-1 because he gets that terrible low fastball called on him. I like seeing Boone go out there, though, and start to light a fire. The clubhouse definitely has some good energy. They got some good juice. Any other points you got for the Yankees here? They head into Texas for a huge series. I think they really got a sweep this weekend. It's going to be tough now with 2 games on Sunday. Tonight got postponed. But they got their 3 best going out to pitch, so I think that this should be a series you're definitely looking for 3 games out of.
Yeah, they got to definitely make a new sweep. They got to definitely sweep Texas, and then they play Toronto for 2. I don't know why it's for 2, and then they play the White Sox in Chicago, and I think they go back. I think they go to Baltimore. They're home versus Baltimore. So really, after Toronto, some winnable games. I know the White Sox are not the White Sox right now, but they should be able to take 3 to 4 from the White Sox. For sure.
I agree.
So just keep it going.
That division's interesting. I know we're not really talking about anything more than the Mets and Yankees. The Twins look good, and we had a feeling this year that I still think Chicago will win the division because it's so early. And they're only 2 games under 500. They're not in a major hole to start the year like Cincinnati, which is a whole nother story. They weren't planning on winning this year, as we know. But
Manfred needs to really step in and do something's gotta
happen.
It's getting really bad.
They're 3-22 right now. Come on, What's going on here?
Yeah, and I saw a stat like if you remove their relievers or like something weird, like starters, and brought like DeGrom or Scherzer on their team, their ERA would still be like it's so bad.
Oh,
It would still
God.
be horrendous.
It's
So
really
just
this is the
really
worst baseball team I've ever seen. It's the worst baseball team I've ever
and it's
seen.
totally just a punt. I mean, not a punt.
Oh, it
totally
is the
just
whole
like,
season.
They're just selling to lose.
The whole
The whole
season
like
is just a
they're
tank.
just trying to get the number 1 pick. They don't. Yeah, it's a tank.
Which the tank
Totally.
is so stupid in baseball because these guys aren't going to play for another 5 years. So the GM is going to be gone. The manager is going to be gone by the time that you get this first overall pick to play. It doesn't make any sense to tank in baseball unless it's a guy like Jack Leiter who is probably going to end up playing. If not before the end of the season, he's going to be a day one player next year for Texas, who was the first pick last year. So that's not common at all. But either way, so the Twins are 15-11. They're leading the Central. They actually look really good. We know that lineup is so powerful. They added Correa, and he hasn't even gotten going yet.
Mm-hmm.
But another team is the Angels. I picked them to win the AL West. I still think it'll be Houston. What's his name's a great replacement, too, at shortstop for Correa. His name's escaping my mind right now.
Royce Lewis. They just brought him up.
Yes. And
because Correa just got hurt. He hurt his finger or something.
Yeah, so Royce Lewis has been a good – so they're not going to be missing him for a little bit. They'll have him down the stretch. But the Angels look really good too. Do we think this is Trout's year that he finally gets back to the postseason since his rookie year?
I think that maybe right now, they're looking like a playoff team. I don't know how long they're going to like this, what is it, Ward or whatever. I don't know how long these other players are really going to keep this up and play. And I'm assuming the Mariners have been good. The Astros have been okay. They've been playing hot lately. I think they're playing
not the same team though.
Now. Yeah, not the same team without Correa right now, but I think they will turn it on eventually. Will end up winning that division, I think. So we'll see. Yeah. But the Angels do right now look like a really good team. So
yeah, Taylor Ward right now. I'm just looking at his stats. But either way, a big thing for the Angels this year has been Syndergaard and Ohtani on the mound. That's not going to last. That's not going to last.
Yeah, especially someone's going to get hurt, sadly.
One of those two are going to get hurt. It's just the sad reality of those two guys. And even if it's not serious, they're both going to miss starts here and there throughout the whole year. So that's something that I hope stays because we need to see Trout in the playoffs, man. The game of baseball needs to see Trout and Ohtani in the postseason, especially Trout, though, because he's been here for so long. He's been the best player in the league, and he hasn't gotten in. It's really been – you got one wild card game.
Bad.
It's been terrible. We don't need to talk about it because we all know. I don't even need to explain it. We all know. To pivot to something we usually don't talk about is hockey. Playoff hockey going on right now here in New York. Me and Lenny have watched both the Rangers games closely despite not being fans. They're at 1-1 in the series after 2 against Pittsburgh. A lot of history between Pittsburgh and New York hockey the last few years. In 2018, the Islanders swept them in the postseason. 2020 was it 20? No, it was last year. We beat them in 6.
Yeah,
we beat, or 20, whatever. I'm probably getting the years mixed up.
I think it was last year. I'm getting mixed
it was last
year.
We beat them in 6, and in 2018 or 19. Well, 19 is a weird one because 19 was the year we swept them.
The
2018-19
year
season.
We swept them. Yeah.
Yes. So 2018-19 season, the Islanders swept them. 2020, they didn't play them in the playoffs. It was the bubble situation. They played Washington, Philadelphia, and Florida and Tampa. Islanders beat them in 6 last year. Rangers going for it right now, 1-1 against Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts on the first few games of this series?
Yeah, I think the Rangers really should be up 2-0. I think they've outplayed the Penguins every game. I know a lot of Ranger fans. I agree. I don't think that was goalie interference. I think it was a bad call, but still, you had 3 periods to score a goal. Then you couldn't. Yeah. So I mean, that's I was kind of stunned they didn't because the Rangers were just getting so many chances, and I think they're just a better hockey team than the Penguins are. But, Crosby and Malkin, they're just never out of it. I mean, they just keep – every time the Rangers score, there's Crosby, Gensel, Malkin right there right after they score. The score, tie it up, and just keep back – it's just going back and forth. I do think the Penguins need to really – they kind of need a goalie. I don't know how – what is his name?
Deming.
How do you say Deming? I don't know if – Yeah, I don't know if you could really roll with him anymore. I think we don't know what even happened to Smith. Is there even?
I don't
Is he
know.
even
There's been,
on like
you know
the
how hockey is with
IL
the,
or whatever?
you know how they are with the injuries too. It's so
Yeah, they
under
don't say
wraps. It's always
anything.
just upper body, lower body. You never know when the guy's coming
Yeah.
back. But I'm gonna assume if I haven't heard he's back, he's not coming back. If you haven't heard the positive news, I don't think it's gonna end up being positive. But they already lost Tristan Jarry this year, who's not even good to begin with. Jarry's not even a great starting goalie to begin with, and now you're on goalie 3. I mean, Jarry handed the Islanders a first-round series last year. He really did. The Isles may not have played. The Isles played great against Boston, and they played better against Tampa than they did against Pittsburgh in round 1. And Jarry handed the Islanders a series last year, especially that Josh Bailey game winner in overtime last year. You remember that? He passed it right to him in the slot, and Bailey just put it in. Will is saying that the Smith is out for the playoffs. So which like we just said, we expect that. Rangers, either way, I thought the Rangers were going to win in 5, assuming the Smith played all 5 games. I think they're a much better team. I will say a little issue I have with Gallant, who I thought his name was Gallant up until a week ago. It's actually Gerard Gallant, which sounds terrible. He sucks now. But
really, it's not. I thought it was Gallant.
It's not. No, because somebody called him that, and he said no. It's everyone calls me Gallant, but it's Gallant. Terrible name. Gallant is so much better.
Still Gallant. Still Gallant. Screw him.
It's still Gallant. So Gerard, he's coached a ton. He's coached a ton of high power offensive teams. Vegas, Florida, a ton of 1 seeds, ton of teams that overachieve. No Stanley Cup rings. I'm going to use Barry Trotz as the example because we're talking about New York hockey here. Trotz and Gerard are 2 totally different style of coaches. Gerard is open up the ice, a lot of offensive opportunities. Trotz is the opposite. Shrink the entire ice, give neither team any offensive opportunities, and hope you win every game by a goal, which has worked for Trotz in his career. He's got a Stanley Cup. He's one of the winningest coaches in NHL history. He's done it with a terrible roster the last few years. I won't say terrible, but with a subpar playoff roster with the Islanders the last few years. He's gotten the job done a few times now. So when we played Pittsburgh, this is the reason I brought up those 2 Pittsburgh series with the Isles. The Crosby line did nothing. Crosby and Malkin were held to no points. And they're on 2 different lines, but the 2 of them were held to I think 1 point combined out of those 2 playoff series. Gensel had a ton of goals, but not from Crosby's stick. And now I'm watching the Rangers give so much open space in the neutral zone and carrying it through the zone. It's such an offensive-driven system. And Shesterkin has so much weight on his shoulders to win these games. Game 2 was just a wash because the Rangers should have won game 1. They came out knowing they couldn't lose 2 games at home, and they just killed Pittsburgh last night. Absolutely killed them. It was 3-2, and it was 5-2 in the blink of an eye. They absolutely killed them last night. Game 1, they should have won. I understand that. I understand the officiating has not been great. 6 straight power plays to start the series for Pittsburgh is alarming. I'd be very frustrated if I was a Rangers fan. But you're giving Crosby all this open ice. Every single time Crosby is on the ice, there is a play that he is making. Whether it results in a goal or not, he's making a play. And he looks a lot better than he did when I was watching them against the Isles, because it's 2 totally different systems. I can't say I'm a huge fan of what the Rangers are run right now for the postseason, because you get into this and give Carolina all that open ice, you're not scoring more than 2 goals a game against Carolina. You can pull it off against Pittsburgh, especially when Domingue's in that. Carolina is going to, and I think Carolina is going to go to the Cup out of the East. I've thought that since before the season started. If it wasn't the Isles, I thought it was going to be Carolina, and clearly it's not the Isles. They are stomping. What's the score of that game right now, if you know? They are stomping on Boston through the first 2 games.
That's
checking right now.
Like a sweep, probably.
2-1 Boston right now, halfway through the second.
Yeah, we'll see.
So it'll be 5-2.
That one plays out, but Boston has played horrible, just terrible in Carolina.
They played terrible, and we saw them last year. They have no depth in the second half of that lineup. They have the great first line, that perfection line, Bergeron, Marchand,
that's about it.
Pasternak. And then they have the Hall line on the second line, and overall, it's just not. They don't have a great goalie. They don't.
Yeah.
Who is their goalie right now? Because Rask's gone.
I don't even know.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
Yeah, Rask is gone. Is it like Ultimark or something like that? It's something I think like maybe it's
sounds
you.
familiar.
I think they kind of like rotate two guys.
Yeah, but
they did.
The Rangers, Shesterkin had to save 80 shots in game one. I know it went it was a total of 5.5 periods played.
Mm-hmm.
John Tortorella, Barry Trotz, Joel Quenneville, that's never going to happen. That is never going to happen. You could play 200 periods. A team's not getting 80 shots. And that's the way I like playoff hockey to be played. Close games, keep the other team low scoring. Carolina, the way the Rangers are playing right now, and Gallant, that's how his name is said, whether he likes it or not. He even said last night there was a lot more to be desired with the Rangers game, and they won 5-2, and he was not content, which is how a good coach should be after every game, unless you win the cup. He even said there's a lot more to be desired. Carolina would absolutely, and Carolina, Tampa, Florida, Washington, and Toronto sucks. Those teams would all pounce on the Rangers right now, in my personal opinion, which means nothing. But the Rangers have time to fix that because I think they're playing the worst team in the playoffs, and I think they're the second most talented team in the whole East across the whole roster. But it does suck not having the Isles in because it's just so
definitely
fun to
does.
watch.
And I think if you're Pittsburgh, you can't give the Rangers too many power plays because they seem to score on every power play possible. You cannot go on the penalty kill at all.
Panarin,
it's insane.
The goal Panarin scored last night. He has, but the goal that he scored last night looks so intentional. That bounce off the skate. I think it was because there was no one in front of the net. The way he sees the ice and the way the puck moves, the way the puck bounces, it's just so impressive. He went for, I forget who it was out in front. It might have been Rust. I forget who it was though that pass knocked off to go in. But he saw him out in front. Everyone thinks he's wrapping it around and he's making the pass out to the far side circle. But instead, he drops it right in front off of the skate through Domingue's 5-hole. He is a guy that the Isles would have 2 rings if they could have gotten him that free agency. And it was between the Islanders and the Rangers. He was a guy that the Isles have 2 rings. He is so good, and he hasn't even gotten going yet. So that's something that the Rangers need too for him to really get going and start to have a huge impact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, Ryan Reeves is an awesome pickup for the Rangers, which we knew from the second they made the move. That was a guy they needed. Mm-hmm. You see that hit he finished on Malkin last night?
Yeah, he's a bad dude, and I think Jeff Carter hit. Not intentionally, but Jeff Carter's gonna get. There's gonna be something tomorrow. Probably, I'd assume that Reeves, somebody will go after him, and Carter's probably expecting. I know he didn't intentionally mean to hit him. It just sucks that
still though.
Anyways, I think he was just faking it, but
even whether he that Shesterkin definitely played that one out after, which I would do the same thing. You're sitting there, you know how heavy those pads are. Long game, just played 5 periods 2 nights before.
Somebody get me out.
I'd lay there for a few minutes too. Everyone else is fighting in the corner. I'd give it a few minutes lay down. But the Rangers next Friday, we will probably know, where they're at, whether they're going to get out of the first round or not, or if they already have. Mm-hmm. So we'll know if Carolina has swept Boston or not. But Carolina is a team that would scare the Eastern Conference is really good. You're going to get to get to the playoffs. You're going to have to beat. I don't care if Boston wins tonight; they're not beating Carolina. You're going to have to beat Carolina and one of Tampa Bay, Toronto, Florida, or Washington. That is a tough 2 series. After Pittsburgh's not great, but they're going to beat the crap out of you for as many games because they're veterans, they're scrappy.
Yeah, they'll play you well. They're not going to get whipped every game.
They're going to play physical. They're going to play you well. And it's going to be a tough first series to get out of, but they should get out of it. They're definitely the better team. And if they get it all together and they can make some defensive adjustments, they should be able to compete with Carolina. Anything else you want to wrap up with today? We're at an hour 10 here. cover most of it. Great week for New York sports.
Yeah, let's keep it going, I guess. Hopefully nothing, no injuries, and just for baseball-wise, everyone just keep it going, beat the teams you should beat. So
which Jets or Giants rookie blows out their knee at rookie camp this week?
Oh, I hope nobody, but
I saw today Salah said today he's just going light with him for the week because he doesn't want to risk any injuries.
I wouldn't even.
Which I'm sure everyone's doing the same. Yeah. I saw them. They were like jogging today, doing agility jogging.
Yeah, I know. I even saw like Rucker, like half of the guys that like got drafted high, they're not really doing it. It's more of like the guys undrafted signings and guys that got invited to camp.
A lot of the undrafted free agents you saw running routes today and going one-on-one and actually doing stuff, but like Ruckert and Garrett Wilson were just tossing them.
Yeah, they were just like chucking the ball. Yeah,
they were just having a catch.
Like a weight ball or whatever. Like
they were having
wall or something.
Yeah, they're doing such light stuff. It's just like a get to know everyone type of week. It feels like, but exciting stuff for New York sports. Jets, Giants. We'll know the result of Bradbury, but other than that, I mean, the Jets and Giants, it's going to be pretty dead for the next month or so, and then we'll see what the deal with.
We got the schedule coming up next week. We'll have schedule.
Oh, true. So next week we'll probably all give you our schedule predictions, and they'll be horribly wrong. Come next year, do some. Always fun to do pick the division winners early and then see how we fare. 10 months later, but that's all for today. We'll post some clips on Instagram. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, GBU Pod. We're going to be doing a jersey giveaway also at some point this week. So that's going to be actually we'll post it on both TikTok and Instagram, but you're going to have to engage on TikTok a little more for it to get involved. Any jersey of any sport that you would like will be available, and we'll pick one winner from the comments and from our followers. You'll have to follow us on both and like both and comment which player you want. And that's going to do it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Next Friday, we'll be back, starting to shift towards hopefully getting in person with each other this summer. Get some games on, watch some games. Me and Lenny will be live streaming some Yankees games this year. We'll be going to some Yankees games. So a lot of fun stuff going on this summer coming up. School's coming to a close here. All home soon. All will be in person doing that stuff. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, comment, follow us on Instagram, all the good stuff. Follow us on Twitter. We put these on Twitter also. And we'll see you next week.